I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what's he doing here on a Tuesday? We got us a nice little special one. This one, it's a VR for Bearded Comic Bro and my jank brother in arms, Cole's Comic Claims. It's another Bearded and Cole's Comic Challenge. This time, the Indie Comic Edition. They did one, I think the last one I remember seeing was vehicle covers. Unfortunately, I think I only had two, so I couldn't get into it. But this one, they're saying indie comics. And if you want to jump in on it, I highly suggest, if you can, try it. This is some cool stuff because I found stuff I didn't know I had or hadn't thought of in a while. Their definition of indie comics is anything except Marvel, DC, or Image. I have my stack 010 right here and my notepad so I can actually remember what I'm doing. We're going to start off, and some of these are going to come with some shout outs as well. The first one, and before I continue, every single one of these books I pulled at one point out of one of those mystery bags, repacks that I've shown in the past from Ollie's. You know, the $4.99, $5.99, $6.99 bags. So let's just see what in the world we got, or I picked for you guys. Starting off, number one, I had never heard of it. I have a couple of them. It's the 7-Up comic for racing fans, Race Warrior. And you talk about loaded down with NASCAR sponsors, and this is the special Bill Simpson feature. We got 7-Up, Welch's. I'm not sponsored by any of these. Valvoline. This is issue number 6, but I know, shout out to Shaw Racing Collects as big NASCAR fans, but I'd never heard of it. I have a couple of these. I'm kind of interested to anybody ever hear of these? I don't know. We're going to find out. Number 2, this one is a shout out to Gary B., the casual comic guy, king of the fantasy comics from the Ollie's Packs of Mystery, from Dark Horse, the 2008 run. We have Cull, number 1, and Cull looking kind of small compared to that monster right behind him. It's a beautiful looking book, and that's why Gary B., the casual comic guy, he does a lot of Conan, a lot of the fantasy stuff. And I think he may even have that one. Number 3, from Dynamite this time. Dynamite Comics, featuring my first comic crush. And no, it's not the guy from Dark Shadows. It is Vampirella. This is Dark Shadows / Vampirella. An interesting combination, though it does kind of make sense. Number 2, and I'm trying to stall while I think of his name, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the guy's name from Dark Shadows. I've actually watched a lot of it. Barnabas Collins? That sounds about right. I'm going to go with that. Number 4, this one came as a shock. I actually have 2 of them, and I didn't know I had them. But it goes back to the Plasm cards that I opened way back when. And also to shout out to For the Pulls, because he got in on the Plasm action too. From Defiant, 1993, Warriors of Plasm, number 1, featuring all the beautiful green neon that the 1990s had to offer. And it's interesting because I have issue 0. That's what all the cards turned into. So I have 0 and 1 now. Moving up, this is the Midway Point. I chose this one because, one, I've never really seen anybody else talk about them, but it's a flip book, cover on both sides. But from Malibu Comics, we have Ultraverse Premiere, number 3 from 1994, which also on the flip side features Ultraverse Prime, number 12, and that's really the part I wanted to show you because they still haven't sent me my royalties for posing for that cover yet. Mr. Muscle Beach, 1994. Love it. That's the 90s right there. Number 6, speaking of the 90s, we're going to roll on to the 93 run, Turok Dinosaur Hunter from Valiant Comics. I like it because, as you can see, this is, I don't really know how to describe it. It's kind of like a plasticky cover. It's raised. It's got everything I love. Raised, different colors. It's a stunning book, if you ask me. Plus, who didn't love Turok? Now, this next one, number 7, it's an alt cover. I don't have many of these, but I did like this one because this is, Prophecy number 2 from Dynamite as well, the 2012 run. And this is the, oh God, I can't even read my own writing. This is why I usually type things. The Renaud Virgin cover of issue number 2 of the Prophecy, featuring Dracula, though I don't know about him. But it also features Red Sonja and Vampirella laying down there with a sword in her chest, but seemingly rather nonplussed about the entire experience. Now, these final 3, these are interesting. This one, please somebody tell me somebody else has even seen this. I want to get the rest of them. I think it was only a 3-issue run, and I have one of them. I have number 2 of Geriatric Gangrene Jiu-Jitsu Gerbils. From, it took a while. This is from 1986, Planet X Productions. And we got, I think we all know what it's kind of a play off of. Just throwing it out there. I've never seen it before. I want to get the other 3. Sam Hack Gerbil. But yes, Geriatric Gangrene Jiu-Jitsu Gerbils, number 1. Or number 2, rather, I'm sorry. The 9th comic is along the same lines from ICG, and I think this was the only, it says first issue, but I think it's the only one they ever made. This is Naive Interdimensional Commando Koalas, but if you look, before I reveal, features the adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters. Again, this is 1986, so you can probably guess exactly what it's going. But if there ever was a more amazing cover than Naive Interdimensional Commando Koalas, I would like to see it. And right, I'm wondering if that's them. Yep, that might be them there. The adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters. Words fail me. They should have sent a poet. And this final one, I chose it for many reasons. 1, I think it's a great cover. 2, again, it came out of the mystery packs at Ollie's. And 3, I got it signed when I met the artist at a show here in Rochester a few years ago. This is Just a Pilgrim, Garden of Eden, number 1 from 2002 and Black Bull Comics. This is the Joe Jusko cover, and I got him to sign it right there where he is taking out whatever that was in the face with what looks like a jerry-rigged, sawed-off type shotgun. And I remember I met Mr. Jusko at a show, and I told him, and I had the book, and I really wanted him to sign it, and I handed it to him, and he looked at it, and he looked at me, and he said, I don't think I've ever signed a copy of this in my life. Well, there we have it. So I may, in fact, have one of the few signed Just a Pilgrim Garden of Eden number 1s by Joe Jusko. I think this was the only cover he did in the whole series, but it is a beautiful cover, as most of his are, and the fact is, it is signed. And this original book came out of one of those packs. I think I got all 4 of the Garden of Eden in one of the packs. So, there you have it. That is my entry, or submission, shall we say, to the Bearded and Cole's indie comic playlist. Links to both of them down below. Please check them out, and check out the playlist, and there have been some awesome independent books that have been shown. A lot of beautiful slabs, some crazy stuff that I've never seen, and because of that, I wanted to throw my votes of crazy stuff in there, including the Geriatric Gangrene Jiu-Jitsu. What? Alright, Geriatric Gangrene Jiu-Jitsu Gerbils, and the Naive Interdimensional Commando Koalas. You know, everybody thinks the koalas are harmless, but as you can see here, They're definitely anything but. I don't know why we have the things that we do. We have probably an outback, a bushman or bush hunter, first army soldier, an angry British member of parliament, and a very serious looking drill instructor. Anybody ever heard of them? Please tell me if it's good or not. I think it's the only one, but I think obviously my favorite is the Just a Pilgrim that I got signed by Joe Jusko. So that's going to do it for me. Hopefully you liked it. What was your favorite book? And if anybody out there has a stack of comics, go through them, man. Let's get the weirder the better, especially for indie comics. There were a couple others that I could not show on camera for a multitude of reasons. They will remain hidden, but needless to say, indie comics, especially back in the day, were giving us some crazy stuff. So, thank you, everybody. Hopefully you liked it. We'll see you next time.